Most people don't lose their lives dramatically. They don't collapse all at once. They don't fail in a single moment. They lose their lives quietly. One delay at a time. One decision pushed to later. One moment where they knew what to do and didn't do it. Later feels harmless. Later sounds responsible. Later sounds like patience, like planning, like maturity. But later is where momentum goes to die. Most people believe their problem is a lack of motivation. They think they need more discipline, more energy, more confidence, more clarity. They think something is missing. But what's really missing is not motivation. It's presence. Your life does not happen in the future. It does not happen in the past. It only happens where you are willing to be fully here. Now, this audiobook is not about rushing. It is not about pressure. It is not about forcing productivity or living in a constant state of urgency. It is about something far more fundamental. It is about reclaiming your power by reclaiming the present moment. Because power does not exist in preparation. It does not exist in intention. It does not exist in planning, thinking, or waiting. Power only exists where action is possible, and action is only possible now. Look closely at how most people live. They are always getting ready, always planning, always preparing for the real version of life that starts tomorrow, next week, next month, or next year. They tell themselves, I'll start when things calm down. I'll focus when I have more time. I'll change when I feel ready. I'll act when I'm more confident. But readiness never arrives. Because readiness is not a feeling, it is a result. And the longer you wait to act, the weaker your relationship with yourself becomes. Every time you delay a decision you already know you should make, something subtle happens. You lose a little trust in yourself. Not loudly, not consciously, quietly. You begin to see yourself as someone who postpones, someone who hesitates, someone who needs perfect conditions before moving, and that identity compounds. The problem is not that people don't know what to do. Most people know exactly what they should be doing. They know which conversation they've been avoiding. They know which habit they need to build. They know which task they keep pushing away. They know which direction their life needs to move. What they lack is not knowledge. It is the ability to stay present with discomfort long enough to act. Procrastination is not laziness. It is emotional avoidance. Waiting is not neutral. It has a cost, and the cost is always higher than people think. Because while time passes either way, identity does not. You are always becoming someone. The question is not whether your life is moving forward. The question is whether you are consciously directing that movement or letting delay decide for you. This audiobook is built around a simple but uncomfortable truth. Your power is always available to you, but only in the present moment. Not when you feel ready, not when the timing feels perfect, not when motivation shows up. Now. The present moment is not a spiritual concept. It is not an abstract idea. It is the only place where decisions are made. The only place where habits are built. The only place where identity is formed. Every action you take or avoid casts a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. And most people don't realize this until years have passed. They look back and wonder where their time went. They wonder why they feel disconnected from themselves. They wonder why they don't trust their own word. The answer is almost always the same. Too much was left for later. In the chapters ahead, we are not going to talk about motivation hacks or productivity tricks. We are not going to overload you with techniques or complicated systems. We are going to do something far more important. We are going to remove the mental patterns that keep you postponing your life. Each chapter will sharpen one essential ability, the ability to act when resistance appears, the ability to stay present when discomfort rises, the ability to make decisions without negotiating with yourself, the ability to finish what is in front of you, the ability to become someone who does not wait. This is not about becoming more aggressive. It It is about becoming more grounded. Calm people who act decisively are not rushed. They are present. Disciplined people are not forcing themselves forward. They are paying attention. Strong people are not louder. They hesitate less. By the end of this audiobook, the goal is not that you feel inspired. Inspiration fades. The goal is that you see delay differently, that you feel resistance differently, that you recognize the exact moment where power is available, and take it. Because the future is not built by intention, it is built by what you do when you don't feel like doing anything. Power does not live in someday, it does not live in later. Power lives where you are willing to act, and that place is always the same. Now, Chapter 1. Later is the enemy. Later does not sound dangerous. It sounds reasonable. It sounds calm, patient, and responsible. But later is not neutral. Later is a decision disguised as a delay. When you say, "I'll do it later," you are not postponing action. You are choosing not to act now. And that choice shapes who you are becoming. Most people believe procrastination is a problem of time management. They think they need better schedules, better tools, or more motivation. But time is rarely the issue. The real issue is what delay does to your identity. Every time you postpone an action you already know you should take, something subtle happens. You weaken the link between intention and behavior. You teach yourself quietly that your word does not require immediate action. This is how discipline erodes. Not through failure, through delay. Later creates psychological distance. It gives the mind an escape route. There is no immediate pain, no visible consequence, no clear loss. That is why it feels safe. You don't feel weaker after saying later once. You don't feel less capable after postponing a small task. Nothing obvious happens. But repetition changes everything. Small delays compound into habits. Habits shape perception, and perception becomes identity. Over time, you begin to see yourself as someone who hesitates, someone who waits for the right mood, someone who needs conditions to be perfect before acting. And once that identity settles in, action becomes harder. Not because the task is difficult, but because acting would contradict who you believe you are. This is why later is the enemy. Not because it steals time, but because it steals self-trust. Self-trust is built when your actions consistently follow your decisions. When you say you will do something, and you do it. When your inner voice carries weight because it has been proven reliable. Later breaks that trust. It teaches your mind that decisions are flexible, that commitment is optional, that discomfort can always be postponed. And slowly, without drama, inner authority fades. You may still appear busy, you may still look productive, you may still fill your days with movement. But beneath the surface, there is hesitation, there is fragmentation, there is the quiet knowledge that you don't fully follow through. The mind does not respect inconsistency. The more you delay, the more action becomes negotiable. The more action becomes negotiable, the weaker discipline becomes. This is not about being harsh with yourself. It is about being precise. Every moment presents a simple choice, act or delay. And each choice casts a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. The solution is not a massive change. It is not a dramatic effort. It is immediate action at a small scale. When you notice the impulse to delay, do not analyze it, do not justify it, do not negotiate with it. Act in the smallest possible way. Send the message. Write the first sentence. Stand up. Begin. Small actions rebuild authority. Each time you act when you would normally postpone, you restore trust with yourself. You prove that your decisions matter. You remind your nervous system that action is possible even when discomfort is present. This is how strength returns. Not through intensity, through consistency. Later loses its power the moment you stop using it. You do not need to eliminate delay. You need to recognize it when it appears and choose differently. The moment you replace later with now, even once, your identity shifts. You become someone who moves, someone who does not wait for permission, someone who acts before conditions feel perfect, and that identity changes everything. Later feels safe, now feels uncomfortable, but only one of them builds power. Later keeps life on hold. Now it moves forward. Later is not just a delay. It is a direction. Choose carefully. Chapter 2. Procrastination is emotional avoidance. Most people think procrastination means they are lazy. They believe it says something negative about their character. A lack of discipline, a lack of ambition, a lack of willpower. That belief is wrong. Procrastination is rarely about laziness. It is about avoidance. You don't delay because you can't do the task. You delay because you don't want to feel what the task brings up. Discomfort, uncertainty, tension, the possibility of failure, the risk of seeing yourself clearly. So instead of acting, the mind looks for relief. It scrolls, it plans, it reorganizes. It tells you that you'll do it later, when you feel better, calmer, more confident. But relief is not progress. Avoidance feels productive because it keeps you busy without moving you forward. You stay occupied while staying safe. You feel active without being exposed. And that is the trap. Every delayed task carries an emotional charge. Something about it feels uncomfortable. If it didn't, you would have already done it. The mind's instinct is to escape discomfort, not confront it. So it postpones action and calls it thinking, preparing, or waiting for the right time. But what you are really doing is protecting yourself from a feeling. And each time you do that, you reinforce a dangerous pattern. You teach your nervous system that discomfort is something to run from. You teach your mind that avoidance is the correct response to challenge. This is how emotional weakness is trained. Not through pain, through avoidance of pain. Strong people are not those who feel less discomfort. They are those who stop running from it. They have learned something most people never do. Discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is a signal to stay present. When you avoid discomfort, the task does not disappear. It waits, and while it waits, it grows heavier. What was once a small action becomes a mental burden. You think about it more. You judge yourself for not doing it. You lose energy just carrying it in your mind. This is why procrastination is exhausting. Not because of the work you're avoiding, but because of the mental tension you're carrying. Avoidance drains power. Action, even imperfect action, releases it. The solution is not to eliminate discomfort. That is impossible. The solution is to stop treating discomfort as a threat. The moment you feel resistance is the moment to slow down, not escape, to notice the sensation, to stay with it without judgment. You don't need to analyze it. You don't need to understand it. You don't need to wait for it to pass. You need to act while it is present. This is how emotional strength is built. Start smaller than your mind wants to. Do not aim to finish everything. Aim to begin while discomfort is still there. Open the document, write one sentence, make the call, take the first step. The action itself changes the emotional landscape. Once you move, the discomfort loses authority. Not because it disappears, but because it no longer controls your behavior. This is a critical distinction. You're not trying to feel good before acting. You're learning to act without needing to feel good. That ability changes everything. Each time you act while discomfort is present, you send a clear signal to yourself. I can handle this. I don't need to escape. I am in control of my actions. That signal builds self-respect, and self-respect is the foundation of discipline. People who procrastinate are not weak. They are untrained. They have never learned to stay present with discomfort long enough to move through it. But this can be trained, not through force, through exposure. Small, consistent exposure to discomfort paired with action. Over time, the nervous system adapts. What once felt overwhelming becomes familiar. What once triggered avoidance becomes manageable. This is how procrastination dissolves, not by thinking differently, by responding differently. When you stop avoiding discomfort, delay loses its purpose. There is nothing left to escape. And when there is nothing to escape, action becomes natural. Procrastination is not your enemy. Avoidance is. Face the feeling. Stay present. Move anyway. That is where your power returns. Chapter 3. The Lie of Perfect Timing. Most people are not waiting because they are confused. They are waiting because they believe a better moment is coming. They tell themselves they will act when they feel ready, when things calm down, when conditions improve, when confidence arrives. That moment rarely comes. Perfect timing is one of the most convincing lies the mind tells. It sounds wise, it sounds patient, it sounds responsible, but it is still a lie. Because readiness is not something you discover, it is something you build, and it is built through action. Waiting for the perfect moment feels safe. It allows you to delay commitment without admitting fear. It keeps your self-image intact while postponing risk. You can tell yourself you're being strategic, not hesitant, thoughtful, not afraid. But the result is always the same. Nothing moves. The mind loves perfect timing because it removes pressure. It shifts responsibility to the future. If the moment is not right, you are not at fault. And so the waiting continues. Here is the uncomfortable truth. There will always be a reason not to act. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be discomfort. If you require perfect conditions before moving, you will never move. People who get things done are not those who feel more ready. They are those who stop requiring readiness as a condition. They understand something fundamental. Clarity comes after action. Confidence comes after movement. Momentum comes after starting, not before. The belief that you must feel ready before acting reverses the natural order of growth. It places emotion in control of behavior. And emotion is unstable. If you wait for confidence, you give your power to a feeling that changes daily. If you wait for motivation, you hand control to something that cannot be commanded. This is why progress feels unpredictable for so many people. They are letting internal weather decide external action. Strong people do the opposite. They act first. They let action shape emotion. This does not mean acting recklessly. It means acting despite uncertainty. Most meaningful actions are taken without full certainty, without complete information, without emotional comfort. That is not a flaw in the process. That is the process. The moment you act without feeling ready, something important happens. You break the illusion that emotion controls behavior. You prove to yourself that movement is possible even when clarity is incomplete. That proof changes how you see yourself. Each time you act before feeling ready, your tolerance for uncertainty grows. Your nervous system learns that discomfort is survivable. Your mind learns that action does not require perfection. This is how confidence is formed, not as a feeling, as evidence. Evidence that you can move forward without guarantees. Waiting for perfect timing delays this evidence indefinitely. And the longer you wait, the more intimidating action becomes. Because the mind fills the gap with imagination, the task grows larger. The risk feels higher. The consequences feel heavier. All because you waited. Action shrinks fear. Waiting magnifies it. This is why people often feel relief the moment they finally begin something they have been postponing. Not because the work is easy, but because the burden of waiting is gone. The decision has been made. The mind relaxes when movement begins. The practice here is simple, but not easy. When you catch yourself waiting for the right time, pause. Ask a direct question. What am I waiting to feel? Confidence, certainty, motivation. Then recognize the truth. None of those are prerequisites. They are outcomes. Instead of waiting for the right moment, create a small one. Take the smallest action that moves you forward. Not to finish, not to impress, just to begin. Send the email without perfect wording. Start before the plan is complete. Move while uncertainty is still present. This trains a new identity. You become someone who does not wait for permission from emotion, someone who trusts action more than feeling, someone who creates momentum instead of hoping for it. Perfect timing is attractive because it promises ease, but growth does not come from ease. It comes from movement under imperfect conditions. There is no moment where fear disappears and clarity takes over completely. There is only the moment where you decide to move anyway. And once you do, the moment becomes right because you made it right. Perfect timing is not found, it is created. And it is always created the same way, by acting now. Chapter 4. Presence creates discipline. Most people think discipline is something you force. They imagine grit, pressure, and constant self-control. They believe discipline means pushing yourself harder. That belief is why discipline rarely lasts. True discipline is not created by force. It is created by presence. When you are not present, you are scattered. When you are scattered, effort leaks. When effort leaks, discipline collapses. Discipline is not about doing more. It is about doing one thing, fully. Look closely at where discipline breaks down. It does not fail because tasks are too hard. It fails because attention is divided. The mind jumps ahead. It worries about the next task. It escapes into distraction. It tries to avoid the discomfort of staying with one thing. And so the work becomes heavy. Presence removes that weight. When you give full attention to what is in front of you, resistance softens. Not because the task changes, but because the inner friction disappears. Most people struggle with discipline because they are never where they are. They are doing one thing while thinking about 5 others. They are physically present, but mentally absent. This creates constant tension. Discipline cannot grow in that environment. Attention is the fuel of discipline. Without it, discipline has nothing to work with. This is why people who appear calm often seem disciplined without effort. They are not forcing themselves. They are simply present. Presence turns action into a single stream. There is no negotiation, no inner debate, no constant resistance, just doing. When you are fully present, the mind stops arguing. It stops asking how long this will take. It stops seeking escape. It settles. And in that settled state, discipline becomes natural. The mistake most people make is trying to discipline themselves while remaining distracted. They try to push through while their attention is everywhere else. That creates burnout. Presence is the alternative. You don't need to control yourself more. You need to fragment yourself less. The practice is simple. When you begin a task, narrow your world. Remove everything that is not necessary. Silence the noise. Close the mental tabs. Then give the task what it asks for, your attention. Not for hours, not for perfection, just for this moment. Discipline is not built by thinking about the entire workload. It is built by staying with the next action. When attention drifts, bring it back, not with frustration, with firmness. This is training. Each time you return your attention, you strengthen the muscle of presence. Each time presence strengthens, discipline becomes easier. You stop needing to push. You stop needing to motivate. You simply continue. This is why discipline feels effortless to some people. They are not more motivated. They are more present. Presence also changes how you relate to discomfort. When you are present, discomfort becomes a sensation, not a threat. You feel it without interpreting it. You stay instead of escaping. That ability is discipline, not white-knuckling through pain, but staying attentive while it passes. Discipline is not intensity, it is steadiness. It is the ability to remain with what you chose to do without fragmenting yourself. This steadiness builds self-respect. Each time you stay present and complete what you started, you reinforce a powerful message. I can stay. I don't need to run. I finish what I begin. That message reshapes identity. You begin to see yourself as someone reliable, someone grounded, someone disciplined, not because you forced yourself, but because you were present. Discipline that comes from presence does not exhaust you. It strengthens you. It does not feel like pressure. It feels like alignment. The task is no longer something you must endure. It becomes something you are fully engaged in. And when engagement replaces resistance, discipline no longer feels like discipline. It feels like flow. Presence is not something extra you add. It is something you remove obstacles to. Remove distraction, remove mental noise, remove the urge to escape. What remains is attention. And attention, when sustained, becomes discipline. You don't need to become stricter. You need to become more present. Because discipline is not control. It is attention in motion. Duoi jai lanoi dung tiep theo. Chapter 5. Trin Bai Jung Format Audiobook. Gyu Gyong Calm Authority. Stoic Lien Makjetho Voiceover. Chapter 5. Finish what is in front of you. Most people believe progress comes from starting. They chase new plans, new systems, new beginnings. But starting does not build strength. Finishing does. An unfinished task carries weight. It stays open in the mind. It drains attention. It quietly reminds you of what you didn't complete. This is why many people feel tired, even when they are not doing much. Their energy is tied up in what remains undone. Completion releases energy. It closes loops. It restores focus. Yet most people avoid finishing. Not because finishing is hard, but because it requires commitment to one direction. Starting feels exciting. Finishing feels exposing. When you finish something, there is no ambiguity left. The result is visible. It can be judged. So the mind prefers to keep things open, half done, in progress, still potential. But potential does not build confidence. Completion does. Every unfinished task sends a quiet message. I didn't follow through. Every finished task sends a different message. I can be trusted. This is how identity is built. Not through big wins. Through small completions. Most people underestimate the power of finishing what is directly in front of them. They look ahead to bigger goals. They think the small task doesn't matter. It does. The task in front of you is not random. It is the next step life is asking you to take. When you avoid it, you weaken momentum. When you finish it, momentum returns. Momentum is not created by thinking ahead. It is created by closing what is open. This is why disciplined people appear calm. They are not carrying dozens of unfinished decisions in their minds. They finish. Finishing simplifies life. Instead of holding 10 tasks at once, you deal with one. Then you close it. Then you move on. This creates clarity. The practice here is direct. Stop asking what you should work on next. Look at what is already in front of you. What is unfinished? What is open? What have you been avoiding closing? Choose the smallest one. Do not aim to fix everything. Aim to finish one thing. Send the final message. Complete the task. Close the loop. When the mind tries to escape to something new, bring it back. Newness is not progress. Completion is. Each finished task strengthens your relationship with yourself. You begin to trust your own direction. You stop second-guessing. This trust compounds. The more you finish, the more focused you become. The more focused you become, the easier finishing feels. This creates a positive cycle. Unfinished tasks create noise. Finished tasks create silence. and silence is where clarity lives. Finishing also trains patience. It teaches you to stay with something beyond the initial excitement, beyond the novelty, beyond the easy part. That ability matters, because real progress happens after the excitement fades. Anyone can start when things feel good. Few can finish when things feel ordinary. Those who can finish become powerful. Not loud power, quiet power. The power of someone who knows they follow through. You do not need to finish everything today. You need to finish something. Choose what is in front of you. Give it your attention. Close it, then stop. Do not rush to the next task. Let the sense of completion register. That feeling is not pride, it is alignment. It is the feeling of your actions matching your intentions. That is where self-respect grows. Life does not ask you to carry everything at once. It asks you to finish what you are already holding. Do that consistently, and your world simplifies, your focus sharpens, your confidence becomes grounded. Finishing is not about productivity. It is about integrity, and integrity is built one completed action at a time. Finish what is in front of you. Chapter 6. Act before you feel ready. Most people are waiting for a feeling, a sense of confidence, a surge of motivation, a signal that says, now is the right time. That signal rarely arrives. Readiness is not a prerequisite for action, it is a result of it. When you wait to feel ready, you hand control of your life to emotion, and emotion is inconsistent. It changes with sleep, stress, weather, and mood. If action depends on how you feel, progress becomes unstable. Strong people understand something different. They do not act because they feel ready. They act, and readiness follows. Confidence is not a switch you turn on. It is evidence you collect. Evidence that you can move even when certainty is missing. Evidence that you can act while doubt is present. Evidence that discomfort does not stop you. Waiting for readiness reverses this process. You ask emotion to lead behavior. But emotion is not designed to lead, it is designed to react. This is why waiting feels endless. There is always another reason not to start. Another doubt, another question, another excuse that sounds reasonable. The mind protects you from risk by delaying exposure. It calls this caution, but over time, caution becomes paralysis. Action is the antidote. Not reckless action, not dramatic action. Small, deliberate movement. When you act before you feel ready, something important happens. You interrupt the mind's habit of control. You stop asking for permission. That moment is uncomfortable. It feels unstable. It feels uncertain. That is exactly why it matters. Growth always lives on the other side of discomfort. Not extreme discomfort. Mild, manageable resistance. The kind that says, this matters. Most people avoid that signal. They interpret resistance as danger. But resistance is not a warning sign. It is a doorway. The people who move forward are not fearless. They are willing to move while fear is present. They do not try to eliminate doubt. They act alongside it. This trains a powerful internal shift. You stop identifying as someone who needs to feel ready. You become someone who acts regardless. That identity changes everything. Because once you see yourself as someone who moves without emotional permission, hesitation loses authority. You no longer debate endlessly. You decide, then you move. This simplifies life. Instead of managing feelings, you manage actions. Instead of waiting for the right mood, you create momentum. Momentum stabilizes emotion. Once movement begins, fear quiets. Not because it disappears, but because it is no longer in charge. This is why starting often feels harder than continuing. The decision to act breaks the stalemate. After that, the mind adjusts. The practice here is precise. Notice when you are waiting to feel different, waiting to feel confident, waiting to feel clear, waiting to feel motivated. Then stop waiting. Choose the smallest action that proves movement is possible. Not the whole task, not the perfect version, just the next step. Open the file, make the call, show up. Do it without emotional support. This is not self-punishment, it is self-leadership. Each time you act before feeling ready, you strengthen an internal muscle. The muscle of decisiveness. Decisiveness does not mean speed, it means commitment. You commit to movement even when certainty is incomplete. That commitment builds trust. You begin to trust yourself not because you feel confident, but because you act consistently. Confidence becomes a byproduct. Over time, you notice a shift. Tasks that once felt intimidating lose their weight. Decisions become clearer. Resistance becomes familiar rather than threatening. This is how readiness is built. Not in advance, in motion. Waiting for readiness delays life. Acting before readiness creates it. You do not need to feel ready to begin. You need to begin to feel ready. And once you understand this, hesitation stops being an obstacle. It becomes a signal that you are standing at the edge of growth. Do not wait there. Move. Chapter 7. Win the next decision. Most people feel overwhelmed, not because their lives are too complex, but because they are trying to carry everything at once. They think about the entire week, the entire project, the entire future, and under that weight, they freeze. Overwhelm is not caused by too much work. It is caused by too much anticipation. The mind was never designed to manage an entire life in one moment. It was designed to make one decision at a time. When you try to solve everything at once, clarity disappears. When clarity disappears, action stops. This is why so many people stay stuck. They are not incapable, they are overloaded. Strong people simplify. They do not ask, how do I fix my whole life? They ask, what is the next decision I need to make? That question changes everything. Life does not require you to win every battle today. It requires you to win the next one. Momentum is built sequentially, decision by decision, action by action. When you focus on the next decision, pressure drops. You are no longer responsible for the entire outcome, only for the next step. This removes emotional weight. Most people delay because they feel the burden of the whole journey. They imagine how long it will take, how hard it will be, what could go wrong along the way. But none of that matters now. Only the next decision matters. The moment you choose the next right action, clarity returns. Not full clarity, enough to move. Winning the next decision does not require motivation. It requires attention. Attention to what is directly in front of you. The phone call that needs to be made. The task that needs to be started. The boundary that needs to be set. Do not evaluate the entire road. Choose the next step. This is how calm replaces overwhelm. Overthinking disappears when movement begins, because action grounds the mind in reality. The future exists only in imagination. The next decision exists in reality. Strong people live in reality. They do not waste energy rehearsing outcomes. They use energy to move forward. This approach also builds trust with yourself. Each time you make a decision and follow through, you reinforce a simple truth. I can handle what is in front of me. That belief is powerful. It reduces anxiety, it sharpens focus, it builds confidence that does not rely on optimism. Winning the next decision also trains patience. You stop rushing to the finish line. You stop needing guarantees. You learn to respect process. Process is where growth happens. When people fail, it is rarely because they chose the wrong long-term goal. It is because they failed to take the next small step consistently. They skipped decisions. They delayed actions. They avoided commitment. Winning the next decision removes that pattern. You stop negotiating with the future. You start engaging with the present. The practice is straightforward. When you feel overwhelmed, Pause. Do not plan. Do not analyze. Ask one question: what is the next decision that moves me forward? Then make it. Do not look ahead. Do not add more steps. Make the decision. Take the action, then stop. Let your mind settle. Only after the action is complete do you choose the next decision. This rhythm keeps you grounded. It keeps you calm. It keeps you moving. You do not need to feel confident about the entire path. You need to trust yourself with the next step. That trust compounds. Over time, the mountain becomes manageable. Not because it shrank, but because you stop trying to carry it all at once. Life becomes lighter when you stop dragging the future into the present. Win the next decision, then win the next one after that. That is how lives are built. Quietly, deliberately, one decision at a time. Chapter 8. The hidden cost of waiting. Waiting rarely feels dangerous. It feels passive. It feels harmless. It feels like you are simply giving things more time. But waiting is never neutral. Every time you choose to wait when action is possible, you pay a cost. Not immediately, not loudly, but consistently. And the longer you wait, the higher the cost becomes. Most people believe the price of waiting is time. They assume they are only losing minutes, hours, or days. That is not what waiting takes from you. Waiting takes clarity. Waiting takes momentum. Waiting takes self-respect. And once those are gone, time alone cannot bring them back. When you delay an action you know you should take, you create internal tension. Part of you knows what must be done. Another part chooses not to do it. That split is exhausting. You may not notice it consciously, but your nervous system does. It stays slightly activated, slightly uneasy, slightly restless. This is why procrastination feels heavy even when nothing is happening. You're carrying unresolved decisions. Every open loop occupies mental space. Every postponed task lives rent-free in your attention. Waiting does not free you. It burdens you, and the longer something remains unfinished, the heavier it feels. What began as a small action becomes a psychological weight. You think about it more. You judge yourself for not doing it. You replay it in your mind. This is the hidden tax of waiting. You lose energy not by doing too much, but by carrying what you refuse to do. There is also a deeper cost, one most people never articulate. Waiting slowly changes how you see yourself. Each time you delay, you send a subtle message inward. This is not urgent. I can put this off. I don't need to act now. Over time, those messages stack. You begin to associate yourself with hesitation, with delay, with unfinished intention. This identity forms quietly. No dramatic failure, no clear breaking point, just a gradual erosion of inner authority. You stop trusting your own decisions, not because they are wrong, but because they are rarely followed by action. And when self-trust weakens, confidence becomes unstable. You may appear capable on the outside. You may be intelligent, informed, and skilled. But inside, there is doubt. Not doubt about what to do. Doubt about whether you will do it. That doubt is expensive. It shows up as second-guessing, as overthinking, as the need for reassurance. Waiting creates dependency on mood, on timing, on external validation. Action creates independence. This is why waiting feels safe in the short term, but dangerous in the long term. It avoids discomfort now, but multiplies it later. Most people underestimate this compounding effect. They think one delay doesn't matter. One postponed decision seems insignificant, but identity is not built by single actions. It is built by patterns, and waiting is a pattern. The more you wait, the more natural waiting becomes. The more natural it becomes, the harder action feels. Eventually, even small tasks feel heavy, not because they are difficult, but because you have trained yourself to hesitate. This is why some people feel tired before they even begin. They are not tired from effort. They are tired from avoidance. Waiting also distorts time perception. When you act, time feels structured. Moments have shape. Progress is visible. When you wait, time blurs. Days bleed into each other. Nothing feels complete. This is why people often look back and feel confused about where their time went. It didn't disappear. It dissolved into waiting. The cost of waiting is not just personal. It affects how others experience you. When you hesitate, people sense uncertainty. When you delay, opportunities move elsewhere. Not because you were incapable, but because you were unavailable to act. Life does not wait for readiness. It responds to movement. This does not mean rushing blindly. It means respecting the moment when action is possible. There is a difference between patience and avoidance. Patience is chosen consciously. Avoidance hides behind reasons. Patience feels grounded. Avoidance feels restless. If waiting leaves you uneasy, if it creates mental noise instead of calm, it is not patience. It is fear wearing a reasonable mask. The moment you recognize this, you regain choice. You can continue to wait and pay the hidden cost, or you can act and pay the temporary discomfort. Both have a price. Only one builds strength. Action may feel uncomfortable in the moment, but it clears the mind. It restores self-respect. It returns energy. Waiting avoids discomfort briefly, but charges interest. The longer you delay, the more effort it takes to restart. This is why acting early is always cheaper than acting later. Not easier, cheaper. Less mental resistance, less emotional weight, less internal friction. The practice here is honest and direct. When you're about to delay, ask yourself one question. What is this waiting costing me right now? Not later. Not hypothetically. Right now. Is it costing focus? Is it costing peace of mind? Is it costing self-trust? Then ask a second question. What would one small action return to me immediately? Not success, not completion, just relief. Just clarity, just momentum. Choose that action. Do not aim to eliminate waiting forever. Aim to interrupt it today. Each time you interrupt waiting with action, you reclaim authority. You remind yourself that you are not stuck. You are choosing, and choice is power. Waiting teaches you to live in anticipation. Action teaches you to live in reality. Reality is where strength grows. The future is shaped not by what you intend to do later, but by what you are willing to do now. Waiting always has a cost. Action always has a return. Choose accordingly. Chapter 9. Presence is a daily practice. Most people believe presence is something you either have or don't. They imagine it as a calm state that arrives when life slows down, a moment of clarity that appears when stress disappears. That belief makes presence seem rare. The truth is simpler and more demanding. Presence is not a state you discover, it is a skill you practice. And like any skill, it weakens when ignored and strengthens when trained. The mind is not designed to stay in the present by default. It drifts. It replays the past. It rehearses the future. This movement is natural. The problem begins when you live there. When most of your attention is spent elsewhere, life feels thin. You move through your days without inhabiting them. You act on autopilot. You react instead of choose. This is why people feel disconnected even when they are busy. They are not present for their own actions. Presence is not about stopping thought. It is about returning attention. Again, and again, and again. Each return is practice. Most people wait for presence to arrive before acting calmly or decisively. They think they must feel grounded first, but grounding comes from engagement, not withdrawal. When you give full attention to what you are doing, presence emerges naturally, not all at once. Moment by moment. This is why presence must be trained daily, not through long retreats or perfect conditions, through ordinary actions done deliberately. Presence shows up when you finish a task without checking something else, when you listen without preparing a response, when you act without splitting your attention. Small moments, repeated. The mistake many people make is trying to be present in everything. That is overwhelming. Presence grows by choosing specific moments to train it. One task, one decision, one action at a time. When you do this, something subtle changes. Your mind becomes quieter, not silent, but steadier. Your reactions slow down, your decisions become cleaner. Not because life is easier, but because your attention is no longer scattered. Presence also changes how you experience discomfort. When you are present, discomfort becomes information instead of noise. You feel it without dramatizing it. You notice it without resisting it. This prevents escalation. Most emotional reactivity comes from absence. You are not with the sensation, you are with the story about it. Presence interrupts that loop. It brings you back to what is actually happening. This is why presence is closely tied to self-control. When you are present, impulses lose momentum. You see them clearly before acting on them. This space between impulse and action is where freedom lives. Presence gives you that space, but only if it is practiced. You cannot expect presence to appear in difficult moments if you avoid training it in easy ones. Daily life is the training ground. How you eat, how you walk, how you work, how you finish tasks. Each moment is an opportunity to return attention. Not perfectly, consistently. Presence is not measured by how long you can stay focused. It is measured by how quickly you return when you drift. Drifting is normal. Returning is practice. This reframes the entire process. You stop judging yourself for losing focus. You start strengthening the habit of coming back. That habit builds calm authority. People who are present do not rush. They do not react impulsively. They do not need to control everything. They respond. Response requires presence. This is why presence feels powerful, not because it dominates others, but because it anchors you. Anchored people move differently. They speak differently. They decide differently. They are not pulled by every thought or emotion. They choose. The practice here is practical. Choose one daily activity to be your training ground. Not something special, something ordinary. It could be working on a task, it could be walking, it could be listening. When you do it, do only that. When your attention drifts, bring it back. Without frustration, without commentary, just return. This repetition builds presence. Over time, you notice a shift. You feel less scattered, less reactive, less rushed. Not because life slowed down, but because your attention stabilized. Presence does not remove problems. It changes how you meet them. And how you meet problems determines how much power you have. People who live in the present do not waste energy fighting reality. They work with what is in front of them. That is why presence leads naturally to action. When you are here, you see clearly. When you see clearly, you act appropriately. No drama, no delay. Presence is not passive. It is active engagement with the moment, trained daily, applied naturally. The goal is not to be present all the time. The goal is to return more often. Each return strengthens you. Presence is not found, it is practiced, and the more you practice it, the more your life moves out of waiting and into action. Chapter 10. Become the person who acts. Now, at some point, progress stops being about techniques. It stops being about habits, systems, or strategies. It becomes about identity, not what you know, not what you intend, but who you are when a moment asks something of you. Most people spend their lives trying to manage behavior without addressing identity. They look for tools to fix procrastination, They look for motivation to fix inconsistency. They look for confidence to fix hesitation. But behavior follows identity, not the other way around. If you see yourself as someone who waits, you will wait. If you see yourself as someone who hesitates, you will hesitate. If you see yourself as someone who needs permission from emotion, you will ask for it. Every time. The final shift is not doing more. It is becoming someone different. Someone who acts now. This does not mean acting impulsively. It means acting decisively. There is a difference. Impulse is reaction without awareness. Decisiveness is action with clarity. The person who acts now is not rushed. They are grounded. They do not move fast because they are anxious. They move because the moment is clear. This person understands something fundamental. Life does not reward preparation alone. It rewards movement. Ideas do not compound. Intentions do not compound. Plans do not compound. Actions compound. Every time you act when delay would be easier, you place a brick. One brick does not look like much, but bricks placed consistently build something solid. Identity is built the same way, not through declarations, through repetition. You do not become someone who acts now by saying it once. You become that person by choosing action again and again, especially when it is uncomfortable. This is where most people stop. They like the idea of change. They like understanding the principles. But when the moment arrives, the moment to act without guarantees, they hesitate. They return to waiting. The difference between those who change and those who don't is not intelligence or discipline. It is tolerance for uncertainty. The person who acts now has accepted a truth most people resist. There will never be a moment of total certainty. There will always be risk. There will always be incomplete information. There will always be discomfort. Waiting for certainty is choosing paralysis. Acting now is choosing growth. This person no longer negotiates endlessly with themselves. They do not ask the same question over and over. They decide once and move. This saves enormous mental energy. Negotiation drains power. Decision restores it. When you decide and act, the mind relaxes. It no longer needs to argue. This is why decisiveness feels calming rather than stressful. Stress comes from unresolved choice. Calm comes from commitment. Becoming someone who acts now also changes how you relate to fear. Fear does not disappear. It becomes background noise. It is present, but it no longer leads. You stop asking fear for permission. You acknowledge it, then act anyway. This trains courage. Not dramatic courage, quiet courage, the kind that shows up in ordinary moments. Making the call, starting the task, setting the boundary, finishing the work. These moments do not look heroic, but they are, because they shape who you are. Over time, something important happens. You stop identifying with hesitation. You stop telling yourself stories about why now is not the right time. You trust yourself to move. That trust becomes stable confidence. Not confidence that depends on success, but confidence rooted in reliability. You know that when a moment requires action, you will respond. This reliability becomes your reputation, with yourself first and then with others. People sense it. They trust those who move with clarity. They respect those who do not stall, not because they are perfect, but because they are decisive. This is how authority is built, not through dominance, through consistency. The person who acts now also understands pacing. They are not frantic, they are steady. They do not try to do everything, they do the next thing. They do not rush to the finish line. They respect sequence. This makes their progress sustainable. They act now, but they act wisely. Wisdom here means alignment, action aligned with values. Movement aligned with direction. This is not speed for its own sake. It is clarity expressed through action. The practice at this stage becomes simpler and more demanding. You stop asking, "What should I do?" You start asking, what am I avoiding? Avoidance reveals exactly where action is required. Each time you notice avoidance, you have a choice. Return to waiting or reinforce your identity. Choose action, not massive action, appropriate action, one step that proves you are no longer negotiating with life. This is how identity solidifies. You are no longer someone trying to change. You are someone who moves. There will be days when action feels natural. There will be days when it feels heavy. The difference now is that heaviness no longer stops you. You have trained yourself to act with weight present. That is maturity. This is the final distinction. The person who acts now does not need motivation. They do not rely on inspiration. They rely on alignment. They act because it is who they are. This identity simplifies everything. Less inner conflict, less mental noise, less waiting, more movement, more clarity, more trust. You do not need to become extraordinary. You need to become consistent. Extraordinary lives are built by ordinary actions taken without delay. This is the person you are becoming, not someone who waits for the right moment. Someone who creates it, not someone who needs certainty. Someone who moves with enough clarity, not someone who postpones life. Someone who participates fully. Becoming the person who acts now is not a destination. It is a daily choice, made quietly, repeated faithfully. And each time you choose action over delay, you reinforce the identity that will carry you forward. You don't wait for life to open up. You step into it. Now. Most people think the end of a journey is where answers are given, where everything is summarized, where the lesson is neatly wrapped and explained. But the truth is simpler. The real ending is not about what you understand. It is about who you choose to be when this audiobook ends. Nothing you have heard matters if it stays in thought. Because life does not respond to insight, it responds to action. Throughout this audiobook, one message has returned again and again, quietly, consistently, without drama. Your life is not waiting to begin. It is already happening, and every moment you delay, you are not standing still. You are moving, just in the wrong direction. Most people believe waiting is passive, that doing nothing means nothing is happening. But waiting is active. It actively shapes identity. It actively trains hesitation. It actively teaches you who you are becoming. Each time you postpone what you know should be done, you practice being someone who postpones. Each time you hesitate, you reinforce hesitation. Each time you wait for conditions to improve, you give your power away. This is not a moral failure. It is a training outcome, and what is trained can be retrained. The opposite of waiting is not rushing. It is presence. Presence is what turns intention into movement. Presence is what closes the gap between knowing and doing. Presence is what allows action to happen even when fear, doubt, or discomfort is present. Now is not a moment in time. It is a way of meeting life. To live in the present does not mean being calm all the time. It means being available to act, available to choose, available to respond, available to move when movement is required. Most people miss their lives, not because they lack ambition, but because they keep postponing engagement. They're always preparing for a future version of themselves that never quite arrives. This audiobook was never about becoming someone new. It was about stopping the delay that prevents you from being who you already are. Someone capable, someone aware, someone able to act. The discipline you were looking for was never missing. It was blocked by waiting. The confidence you thought you lacked was never absent. It was postponed. The clarity you hoped would arrive someday was always available. On the other side of action, action clarifies, action simplifies, action grounds. Waiting complicates everything. At the end of this journey, there is no dramatic command. No demand to transform overnight. No expectation of perfection. There is only one quiet invitation. Stop postponing your life. Not tomorrow, Not next week. Not when you feel different. Now. This does not mean acting on everything at once. It means acting on what is already in front of you. The conversation you have avoided. The task you keep delaying. The decision you already know the answer to. You do not need to solve your entire future. You need to honor the present moment with action. That is enough. When you act, something important happens internally. The noise quiets, the tension eases, the mind stops negotiating. There is relief, not because the outcome is guaranteed, but because alignment has been restored. Alignment between intention and behavior, between values and action. That alignment is peace. This is why people who act decisively often appear calm. They are not carrying unresolved decisions. They are not dragging the weight of delay behind them. They move, and movement frees energy. This does not mean life becomes easy. It becomes honest. You stop lying to yourself about later. You stop pretending time will fix what only action can. You begin to trust yourself, not because you are fearless, but because you respond. And trust is everything. When you trust yourself to act, you no longer need constant motivation. You no longer need to wait for the perfect mood. You no longer depend on external pressure. You lead yourself. Leadership begins internally. The person who can direct their own actions does not feel lost for long. They do not spiral endlessly. They correct course by moving. That is power. Quiet power. Stable power. The kind that does not announce itself. This audiobook does not end with a technique, because techniques fade. It ends with a choice. A choice you will face again and again. Delay or move. Each time you choose movement, you reinforce a different identity. An identity that does not wait for permission. An identity that acts with clarity, even under uncertainty. You will not always choose perfectly. That is not the goal. The goal is consistency. To return to action more quickly. To hesitate less. To recognize waiting when it appears and interrupt it. This is a lifelong practice. Not intense, not dramatic. Simple, daily, honest. If there is one thing to carry forward from this audiobook, let it be this. You do not need more time. You do not need more motivation. You do not need more confidence. You need to act where you are. Now is not a limitation. It is an opening. It is where choice lives. It is where power is available. Not all at once, but enough. Enough to take the next step. Enough to close the next loop. Enough to move your life forward. You do not need to become someone else to live fully. You need to stop postponing yourself. Life does not ask you to rush. It asks you to respond. When you respond, you are present. When you are present, you are powerful. And when you stop leaving your life for later, something subtle but irreversible changes. You begin to live it now.